Viewer discretion advised. This video contains scenes of car interiors without touchscreens, digital clusters, or fake carbon fiber. Proceed at your own risk. We're heading back to the 50s. Keep in mind this list is completely subjective, so if I left out one you love or added one that makes you roll your eyes, don't hold back in the comments. And if you had to pick your top 3, throw them in there too. First on the list is the 1958 Pontiac Bonneville. Step inside the Bonneville and it feels like you've just walked into a chrome-covered time capsule from the jet age. Everything shines, from the big curving dashboard to all that chrome running from one door to the other. The two-tone red and white interior with bucket seats front and back looks more like a high-end diner booth than a car. This was Pontiac's new flagship, loaded with power steering, power brakes, power windows, and even dual spotlights. Under all that flash was a serious performer, a 370 cubic inch V8 that made up to 310 horsepower when paired with fuel injection. Pontiac promoted the Bonneville with the line, "If driving's an art you enjoy and elegance has real meaning to you, Bonneville driving will come closer to sheer magic than anything you've known in motion." And honestly, that wasn't far from the truth. The cabin was wrapped in glove-soft, hand-buffed leather, color-matched to the body paint, and tailored, as Pontiac put it, to a man's taste in fine interiors. Buyers could choose between a full-width front seat or sporty bucket seats. There was even a dual speaker setup, with one speaker hidden behind a decorative medallion in the rear seat. And tucked into that chrome-heavy dash sat the transportable radio, a removable transistorized unit you could actually take with you. Basically a 1950s version of a Bluetooth speaker for the younger ones out there. Next up is the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, one of the most iconic American cars ever made. Not only did the exterior turn heads, but the interior was just as impressive. Two-tone seats, chrome trim, and bright metal accents along the doors and sills made the cabin feel coordinated. The dashboard, panels, and even the smaller details were all designed to catch your eye without feeling overdone. Luxury features were available for those who wanted them: power steering, power brakes, power windows, adjustable front seats, a padded dash, air conditioning, and even electric windshield wipers. For 1957, that was about as comfortable and convenient as you could get in a car. Like many cars of this era, the Bel Air came with a huge range of options. You could mix and match exterior colors, interior tones, and trim levels to create a car that really fit your taste. Even the lower price trims like the 210 and 150 offered two-tone interiors and chrome touches. No matter which version you picked, the cabin always felt stylish and well thought out. The third car on the list is the 1957 Buick Roadmaster convertible, Buick's top-of-the-line model for the year and one of the most elegant cars of the late 50s. The most sought-after version was the convertible itself, with only 4,364 built, making it a rare sight even today. The body was all new, 10 inches longer than before, with a lower roofline, sweep spear side trim, front fender ventiports, those iconic Dagmar bumpers, and fully rounded rear fenders. Inside, a padded dashboard with a bright metallic motif sets the tone, while rich leather upholstery came standard. Every detail was designed for comfort and luxury. Double-depth foam rubber seat cushions, foam-backed carpeting, sliding sunshades, and heavy insulation against heat and sound. The convertible also added electrically operated windows and powered horizontal seat adjustments. Safety and convenience were well covered too. Power steering, an automatic windshield washer, wide-angle wipers, backup lights, a glare-proof rear-view mirror, a parking brake warning light, a trip mileage indicator, an electric clock, a cigarette lighter, an automatic glove compartment light, and a horizontal redliner speedometer. Next up is the 1956 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz, Cadillac's ultra-luxury convertible, renamed that year to set it apart from the new Seville two-door hardtop coupe. Both took their names from romantic European cities, Biarritz, a fashionable French seaside resort, and Seville, a historic city in Spain. Priced at $6,556, nearly $1,800 more than the regular Series 62 convertible, the Eldorado Biarritz was exclusive, with just 2,150 units built. Inside, it's loaded with features like power steering, power brakes, power windows, power vent windows, air conditioning, easy eye glass, Autronic eye, and a signal-seeking AM radio. Honestly, what this car didn't have would probably be the real question. Without a doubt, it's a car that deserves a spot among the most beautiful American cars of the 50s, and I think it only takes one look at this particular unit. The white exterior paired with a cream over tan leather interior looks fantastic. If the Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz felt luxurious, the next car took things to another level. We're talking about the 1956 Continental Mark II. This short-lived model from 1956 to 1957 had that timeless long hood, short deck look, complete with a simulated spare tire bulge on the rear deck, a subtle nod to the earlier Lincoln Continental from the 1940s. It was called a Continental rather than a Lincoln, since Ford created a separate division just to make it feel even more exclusive. At $10,000, it was one of the most expensive American cars you could buy at the time. Only 2,550 were built in 1956, with another 444 the following year before production ended, and Ford reportedly lost money on every single one. Inside, it came with everything you'd expect from a top-tier luxury car. An OEM radio, power windows including the vent windows, power brakes and steering, dual heaters, and power seats. But what really set it apart was the interior leather. The hides were hand-selected from Scotland, softened by hand, and had a deep, smooth grain unlike anything else on the market. Once they arrived at the Continental plant, they were kept under strict humidity control until it was time to use them, a detail that says everything about how much care went into building this car. Next up is the 1956 Imperial Southampton, Chrysler's top-of-the-line model, and one that truly marked a turning point for the company. By this time, Chrysler had registered Imperial as its own separate brand, starting in 1955, and gave it what they proudly called the $100 million look. Thanks to design chief Virgil Exner, Chrysler's image went from conservative to modern almost overnight. The 1956 Imperial Southampton carried that momentum forward. Riding on an exclusive 133-inch wheelbase, it came with a 354 cubic inch Hemi V8, making 280 horsepower. Now the part we're really here for, the interior. To be honest, that steering wheel might be one of the coolest I've ever seen from the 50s, and right in the center, it's got a Benris Chrysler-matic clock built right in. Chrysler really wanted every inch of the Imperial to feel like something out of the ordinary. Factory equipment also included air-temp air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, power windows, a power seat, and you could even get Chrysler's Highway Hi-Fi record player. Next is the 1956 Packard Caribbean. Only 263 hardtop coupes were built that year, which already makes it a rare find. This particular one looks incredible in its factory-correct colors: Dover white, Naples orange, and Corsican black. Inside, it's trimmed in vermilion and white vinyl, with reversible seat cushions that reveal dark gray tweed on the other side, a small but really cool touch. Power came from a 374 cubic inch V8 paired with Packard's Ultramatic push-button automatic transmission. Honestly, this car really shows why so many of us love vehicles from this era. There's just so much personality and attention to detail packed into it. Sure, these interiors weren't exactly the safest by modern standards, but they had character, real craftsmanship you just don't see anymore. Next up is the 1959 Cadillac Series 62 convertible, another Cadillac on our list, and this one in particular comes with a fun little twist. It was formerly owned by French cartoonist Albert Uderzo, best known as the co-creator and illustrator of the Asterix comic book series. This Series 62 was finished in silver with a red leather interior, and while the car might have been considered a step below the Eldorado back then, even today the interior still radiates a sense of luxury. Sure, some equipment was missing. For example, moving up to a DeVille got you power windows and two-way power seats, while Eldorado models were the ultimate package as we saw earlier. Still, it's easy to see even in photos how carefully everything was crafted. Up next is the 1958 Oldsmobile Super 88 convertible, the rarest body-style Oldsmobile offered that year, with just 3,799 built. This unit has a crisp white vinyl top, neatly covered with a matching boot when lowered. The interior is really something. As we've seen with other cars on the list, it comes with power steering, power brakes, a power top, and other neat touches like an electric clock and the classic Wonder Bar signal-seeking AM radio. Even if it's not as flashy or luxurious as the Eldorado or the Continental, it has a lot of personality. One thing I really love about 50s interiors is the use of chrome. It's everywhere. On the dash, the buttons, the trim. In my opinion, this interior does it really well because even with all that chrome, the design isn't overcomplicated. Everything's easy to make sense of, and it still manages to look great without overdoing it. Next is another truly iconic American car, the 1955 Ford Thunderbird. When it was shown at the 1954 Detroit Auto Show, Ford presented it as a personal luxury car with a sporty edge, basically their answer to the Corvette, and people loved it. Ford got thousands of deposits right away, way more than they expected. Power came from a 292 cubic inch V8 making 193 horsepower, which was more than enough for a car like this. This particular one is finished in torch red with both a hardtop and soft top, fender skirts with stone guards, wire basket wheel covers, white wall tires, and a factory radio. The interior, though, is just as cool as the outside. It was made to be comfortable and stylish without going overboard. You've got full-size roll-up safety glass windows, a wide foam cushion seat that moves in 4 directions at the touch of a button, and a steering wheel that telescopes 3 inches. Pretty impressive for the 50s. The dashboard, called the Astra Dial control panel, keeps everything easy to reach with just the right amount of chrome, and it even has a tachometer and a clock with a sweep second hand. The next car on the list is the 1957 Mercury Turnpike Cruiser Coupe. It started as the XM Turnpike Cruiser concept in 1956 with sleek Italian-inspired lines from Ghia, and by 1957, Mercury put it into production, keeping all the design touches that made the concept so original. It's packed with eye-catching features: a wraparound skylight dual-curve windshield, roof-level air intakes, a power-operated retractable breezeway rear window, and a canopy-style roof that overhung the back window. Under the hood, it had a range of V8 engines, each paired with a 3-speed Merc-O-Matic transmission controlled through a push-button keyboard on the dash. This particular 1957 Turnpike Cruiser is finished in tuxedo black with a tri-tone black, white, and red interior. Inside, you get front and rear bench seats, a town & country radio, and of course, that breezeway rear window. I've always found the steering wheel to be really unique. It stands out and gives the interior a ton of character. Next up is the 1957 DeSoto Adventurer convertible, one of the real stars of Chrysler's forward-look era. In 1957, you could get it as a hardtop coupe or a convertible, and it only came in black or white, both paired with that signature Adventurer gold poly trim. Everything had a touch of gold: the side spear, the interior accents, the wheels, even the carpet had gold metallic threads woven into it. Under the hood sat a Hemi V8, bored out and fitted with a performance camshaft in dual quads, pushing out an impressive 375 horsepower. That's 1 horsepower per cubic inch. Pretty wild for 1957. All Adventurers were rare, but the 57 was on another level. It came out later than the rest of DeSoto's lineup, wasn't in the catalog, and didn't even have its own brochure. This one's even rarer, featuring factory air-temp air conditioning, a Benris steering wheel mounted chronometer, power seats, and the correct accessory wire wheels. And honestly, the interior is just stunning. That dashboard with the chrome and gold accents looks incredible. It's truly a piece of art. Next up is the 1959 Buick Electra 225 convertible, the most luxurious Buick you could buy that year. Before '59, the Super and the Roadmaster were Buick's top dogs, but that changed when the Electra name came along. The top-tier Roadmaster became the Electra 225, and that 225 wasn't just a random number. It represented the car's massive 225-inch length. Built on General Motors' C-body, it came in sedan, Riviera, and convertible versions, and it was part of what Buick called the year's most changed car. The styling went all in on late 50s flair, long, low, and loaded with fins. This one's finished in white with a white convertible top, a ton of chrome, and a beautiful red leather interior with factory bucket seats. Inside, it had everything you'd expect from a top-end Buick. Power windows, power seats, power steering, power brakes, and even a power top. You also got a radio with a rear seat speaker, because of course, if you were in an Electra, you needed good tunes. Power came from a 401 cubic inch V8 with 325 horsepower, paired to Buick's twin-turbine Dynaflow automatic. Only 5,493 Electra 225 convertibles were built that year, less than 2% of Buick's total production. I really like that the dashboard was clearly designed with the driver in mind, and as with many 50s interiors, the red really brings the whole cabin to life. Unlike most of today's cars where interiors feel flat, this one just feels alive. This next car was terrifically unpopular when it came out. Sales were pretty rough, but I still think it deserves some love, especially for its interior. It's simple in all the right ways, though you have to keep in mind it didn't have the same level of equipment as some of the higher-end cars of the time. In 1955, Lincoln was all about combining elegance with power. That year, the big story wasn't so much about looks, it was what was happening under the hood. Lincoln finally got its own Ford-built turbo-drive automatic transmission, replacing the old Hydra-matic. Basically, it was a tougher version of Ford's Mercury-matic, built to handle the stronger Lincoln V8. That V8 got a little boost too, bored out to 341 cubic inches, now making 225 horsepower at 4,400 RPM. Now, while most of Lincoln's rivals were rolling out flashy new designs in 54 and 55, Lincoln stuck with its handsome but fairly conservative look that dated back to 1952. Still, there were a few nice updates. The front end got a new grille and trim rings around the headlights. The fender ornaments and the big V on the hood were gone, replaced by a slimmer hood ornament that gave the car a cleaner vibe. The Lincoln name in bold letters returned to the hood's edge, and out back, the quarter panels stretched into subtle tail fins with vertical taillights tucked under little hoods. The rear bumper was reshaped to match the new backup lights, and a brushed stainless trim piece swept down the sides all the way to the rocker panels. Unfortunately, that reserved styling didn't win many buyers. Only about 27,000 Lincolns were built that year, and just 1,487 of them were Capri convertibles. Inside, Lincoln kept things straightforward for 55. The seats lost their pleated bolsters for a smoother look, and the convertible top was made of Orlin, one of those miracle fabrics everyone was talking about in the mid-50s. The overall look was simple but good-looking. This particular car was finished in Huntsman red with a black top over a red and white leather interior and came with power steering and power brakes. All right, for the final car on the list, we've got the 1955 Studebaker President's Speedster Coupe. Studebaker was really trying to make some noise that year, so to show off their new models, they built 14 special President hardtop coupes just for the auto show circuit. These were basically rolling advertisements, and they looked incredible. Tri-tone paint jobs, real leather seats, and a dashboard that looked straight out of a jet plane. People loved them, so Studebaker decided to actually build it. The production version came out in January of 1955 as the President Speedster, bringing back the old President name after more than a decade, and the Speedster name from way back in the 1920s. This was Studebaker's top-of-the-line model, loaded with just about every feature that could cram in. You got power steering and brakes, your choice of automatic or manual with overdrive, a clock, an 8-tube radio, white wall tires, turn signals, triple horns, dual side mirrors, chrome tailpipe extensions, and of course, those Speedster badges, so everyone knew you were driving something special. At $3,253, it definitely wasn't cheap, and maybe that's why only about 2,200 were built. The inside of the Speedster, like the Lincoln Capri, was a bit more on the simple and minimalistic side compared to some of the other flashy cars on the list, but in my opinion, it worked. The information in this video was gathered from the sources shown on screen. As always, you can find the sources in the Google Doc linked in the description. I recommend checking them out for more details. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about the 15 most beautiful interiors from American cars of the 60s. Basically the same idea as this one, just a decade later. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.